What does this fish oil supplement have to do with the Vikings taking over Northern Europe? Well, at their peak in the 11th century, the Vikings controlled what is now England, Norway, Denmark, and parts of Sweden. And the thing that all those regions have in common is that they go through long periods of darkness every year, meaning that the people there are at really high risk of vitamin D deficiency. And that's because we need sunlight in the form of UVB radiation, because it undergoes a phytochemical reaction with 7-DHC cholesterol in your skin to then make vitamin D3, which then eventually turns into vitamin D in your body. So if you don't have enough vitamin D in your body can't absorb calcium phosphate, which leads to you having weak and soft bones. Your immune system stops working and you get a form of depression known as seasonal affective disorder. Thanks to their location, the Vikings had a huge supply of fatty fish, and they were actually known to extract the cod liver oil. Cod liver oil is one of the richest sources of naturally occurring vitamin D, and it's rich in vitamin D because it eats smaller fish that have got a lot of vitamin D, and those smaller fish are eating plankton, which produces the vitamin D directly on the ocean surface. And the part I find the most fascinating is that the Vikings' practice of consuming cod liver oil gave them such a huge advantage, but they had no idea what vitamin D even was, or why the cod liver oil was so effective. And there's a pattern throughout history where we recognize the benefits of a practice without fully understanding the mechanisms behind it. And it still happens today. We've been using modern forms of anesthesia for the last 170 years, and yet we still don't fully understand how it works. Which is crazy because we just trust that they put us to sleep and that we don't feel a thing, but we have no way of proving it because we have no recollection of the experience. Before Newton's discoveries, it would be crazy to try and even explain why the grass is green or why the sky is blue. These questions just seemed unanswerable because the answer would always be, it just is. But after Newton showed with the prism that white light is just a mixture of all the colours on the spectrum, and that grass just happens to reflect more green light than the other colours, gives us an answer to that question that once seemed unanswerable. So that makes me wonder, what questions do we just dismiss as unanswerable that some person 100 years later will have a clear explanation for? It could be questions about the theory of consciousness, about spirituality and ghosts, or why and if the universe had a beginning, or if there's going to be an afterlife. But who knows if they'll ever be answerable. And until we understand everything, we just have to follow our hearts and trust our intuition.